We're moving into the political insight topic, which we'll be discussing age of consent. That's our main topic for tonight. Oh, not sorry, the main theme, just the main political insight topic for tonight. So this segment will be covered by the VP and myself. To start, the age of consent refers to the minimum age at which an individual is legally considered capable of giving informed and voluntary consent to engage in sexual activity. It exists primarily to protect individuals, particularly minors, from sexual exploitation and abuse. The concept is grounded in the idea that younger individuals may not have the maturity or capacity to fully understand the implications of sexual activity and provide meaningful consent. Not just any consent, meaningful, informed, voluntary consent. Age of consent laws aim to strike a balance between protecting the minors and respecting individual autonomy. So when you look at the legal framework of the age of consent, it may vary from one country and state to another. For example, in the United States, the age of consent can range from 16 to 18 years, depending on the jurisdiction. Similarly, in other countries, they have their own age of consent, with some setting it as low as 14 years or as high as 18 years. There are laws that typically codified in statutes and may also include provisions regarding the age differences allowed between sexual partners. So let's take a look at the cultural variations in attitudes towards age of consent. So these attitudes can vary widely. In some cultures, there are more conservative views that prioritize protecting minors and maintaining strict age limits for sexual activity. In contrast, others may have more permissive attitudes influenced by cultural norms and traditions regarding when individuals are considered mature enough to engage in sexual relations. Some Some cultures recognize as soon as a female has had her first menstrual cycle, she is a woman. So she is fit for all womenly duties. That means having children, all those wonderful things. These cultural variations can influence the way age of consent laws are perceived and enforced. But when you look at the impact on societal norms on age of consent laws, realize that they play a crucial role in shaping age of consent laws. These norms can reflect broader beliefs about sexuality, relationships, and individual rights. In societies where there is a greater emphasis on individual autonomy and personal freedom, there may be a push for lower age of consent. Conversely, in societies that prioritize protection and moral values, age of consent laws may be more restrictive. Public opinion and cultural values often influence the debates and reforms surrounding these laws. Now, we're in a technological era, and we know that with technology, there comes changes, good and bad. Let's take a look at how technology and the internet affects issues of consent. The rise of technology and internet has introduced new challenges related to consent. Online interactions, included sexting and online dating, have created situations where consent may be misunderstood or violated. Sexting, for persons who don't know, it's sexual topic, sexual engagement while texting. So that may be persons role playing, having sexual conversation, mature conversation through text, sometimes explicit language and content, like media content, pictures, videos, and such. That would be considered sexting. The digital age has led to discussions about the importance of obtaining explicit, informed consent in the context of digital communication and relationships. The cyberbullying and online consent violations. Cyberbullying and online harassment can involve non-consensual sharing of personal information, explicit images, or threats. Have we heard the term revenge porn? Raise of hands if you heard that term, revenge porn. You just raise your hands and chat, raise your hands if you've heard that term, revenge porn. Only two persons know of it. Revenge porn may be described as if you have a partner, you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, and you trust this person, you share certain sexual media content, because you're sharing it to them. And if the relationship ends or there's some issue, that's the way to get back at you. Keep the hands raised, man. Keep the hands raised. The way to get back at you, they share this information, these media. Remember, you gave them permission. You shared it to them. You didn't share it to the world. So that's why it's revenge porn, because of the nature of it. It's considered porn, and because of the reasons and the intentions behind the revenge comes in. That is what revenge porn is. All right, so not a lot of us know, lots of us on the call, and only 6 of us know what revenge porn is. All right, thank you for raising the hands. You can lower them. These behaviors highlight the need for clear consent standards in digital spaces and raise questions about how online consent violations should be addressed legally and socially. Age gaps and relationships. Age gaps and relationships. Okay? Age gaps in relationships can be complex and a controversial topic. While some relationships with significant age differences are consensual and healthy, others may raise concerns about power dynamics and the potential for exploitation. Age of consent laws often address these concerns by setting limits on the allowable age differences between partners. However, societal views on age difference and gaps vary. Discussions about what constitutes a healthy age difference in a relationship continue to evolve. And we're going to take a look at a few videos. I'm going to mute, so feel free to turn up your volume. We're going to take a look at two videos, then we'll open the floor for discussion on the matter. And as we're watching this video, let's examine the pros and cons of having a high age of consent when it was like 2018 high versus the low 15, 14. Let's consider some of the factors that would be beneficial to pros and cons and why high is better, low is better, why it does matter. All right.
Japan has finally raised the age of sexual consent from 13 to 16. The move comes after several accused rapists were acquitted in 2019, sparking public outrage. In one case, the court acquitted a father who had repeatedly raped his teenage daughter, even after it recognized that the girl had not consented. The court said there was no definitive proof that the girl was unable to resist psychologically, as in she could have resisted if she wanted to. Previously, victims needed to prove that there was violence and intimidation, and that they had been unable to physically resist in order to secure a conviction. The new law, which was passed unanimously on Friday, June 16th, expands the definition of rape from forcible sexual intercourse to non-consensual sexual intercourse. It also clearly outlines 8 situations that can be considered rape, including when the victim is under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or if the perpetrator frightens them or takes advantage of their social status. The new law also makes grooming minors and voyeurism, such as when people take upskirt photos or videos or secretly film sexual acts, a crime. Follow for more stories from around the world.
This is the age of consent in every country. So the highest age of consent goes to Bahrain at 21, followed by Nepal and South Korea at 20. India, Turkey, Vietnam, Argentina, and Egypt are some countries that place it right at 18, while Mexico, Ireland, and Cyprus have it marked at 17. A majority of countries have it at 16, including Canada, Russia, South Africa, Australia, Spain, Norway, and most of the United States. Inching a bit lower to 15, we have a lot of European countries, as well as Thailand, Costa Rica, and North Korea. 14 brings us to China, Bangladesh, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, and Colombia. 13 is actually the age of consent in Japan, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The Philippines and Angola have it set right at 12. And the lowest age of consent of them all is Nigeria at just 11 years old. But some countries like Yemen, Pakistan, and Iran, there's no age of consent and you just need to be married.
So at this point, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. I'm going to ask you to open your mind. We just read through what age of consent is, the importance of it legally, morally, what society thinks of it. We just understood that some countries will have it higher at 20, 21, 18. Some will have it as low as 11, even 9. Some have no age of consent, and once you're married, you can have sex. Again, no age of consent. Once you're married, that's it. So there's no age minimum or anything. So please raise your hands. Let's discuss it. We're discussing the pros, the cons, which we think is better, higher, lower, in between. Is it their body and they should get a choice? Let's talk about it. So I see a few hands raised. I'm going to go in order. Anishka, go ahead.
Yes, me again. This whole age of consent thing. I am going to speak from the Jamaican context first. 16 years old. I do not believe, in my personal view, that that is a reasonable age to give consent. 11 is alarming, but 16, even so much. You know why? I think that at 16 years old, you're just in grade 10. You should be in grade 10 by that age. Some persons are late bloomers or they may be ahead of the class, but grade 10 is where 16 puts you. Now, you're not eligible to vote. You're not eligible to drive. You're not eligible to drink alcohol, even though we know Jamaica, they said anybody anything, but the legal age is 18 for everything. You're not eligible to work until you're 18. So, with all that said, if you're not able to indulge in any other adult activity, why are you eligible to have sex and make certain decisions. If you should get pregnant, who is going to take care of that child? If you have a mother like me, and I send you to school and you come home to me with a belly telling me that you're pregnant, where did you get it from? Me say no go get knowledge in your brain. Me never go say no go get extras in your belly and KFC make you fat. So where that I go? You go have to go look work. No, me can go jail if you send you go look work. If you go down to Mr. Chin to go pack bag, Mr. Chin go get locked up for hire you at 16. Nobody can hire you at 16. So how are you eligible to have sex? You can't make certain decisions. So why are you engaging in other adult activities? So I am way against it. 11 is alarming. No age of consent means that anything goes. You can be married at whatever age. That is even worse. I agree with the countries that put it at 21 because at that time you're an adult. You can be able to finance yourself and that child. You can come out of the house and go look work. You finish school, you can help yourself, you can go pay rent, whatever. You can find a partner to support both of you. But at 16 years old having sex, I totally disagree.
Thank you very much. It was very insightful take from Anishka. So we'll now hear from Shamir and then Denny. So go ahead, Shamir.
My first question, well, you don't have to answer it, but the countries that have a lower age of consent, do they have a higher birth rate or are they overpopulated? Because it seemed like quite a few of them from memory that was listed seem like they always have a lot of people or have, population issues. The second thing is that it seems as if the age of consent is to protect the quote unquote perpetrator rather than the child. Because I try to remember something that was mentioned in the video about, increasing it because to make meaningful something about the other person, the adult in the equation, like it's more for them than for the child. Right? So then I really benefit them because if you are not able to make other decisions on your life, why them think that particular thing makes sense, right? And as Anishka said before with Eva Jamaica, why you can't have sex? You have the headspace to have sex, but you can't decide for work. You can't vote. You can't do anything for yourself, and all that, it not make any sense, right? You have the common sense you can agree to that, but not anything else. And even as a society, the same people that legalize it talk down on teen pregnancy, and them not have no provisions for people that are teens and pregnant. And then a lot of the times when the teenager get pregnant and get thrown out, them end up at home, them future done. You know, have a lot of schooling. Because once you're pregnant in a high school, they might tell us, oh yeah, you just see the person disappear. And how many persons, even in this chat, when you were 16, decisions you make at 16, I said, boy, some never have no sense too. But at the time, I did feel so big. I feel like, yeah, me know this and know that and whatever, whatever. It no makes sense, right? And it seems like a lot of things that them just wait to reach that age until them think them can take on the world. Um, Anishka mentioned something else, but we can't remember it. But yeah, as many people are saying in the comments, it is made for men. Because I've seen even adult men see like one 14-year-old child and I go say, oh my god, wait till next year when she reaches 16. When them start pursue the 16-year-old, people underestimate how coercive people can be and how strong manipulation is. Right? A big man we are talking about, right? What does a child know about certain tactics a woman can get them and they're like, okay, me a big whatever. Me have one big man boy, me have whatever, whatever. It's to protect the perpetrator because when that dependent they say, boy, me never want it, they're like, oh, you're at the age of consent where you make the decision. Then if you go all the way down to 16, I think if you go up to even 18 or 21 in illegal and you can fend for yourself and all of that.
Okay, thanks, Shamir. Mackenzie, your name?
Yes, so me again. First of all, I think consent in but I can only speak for Jamaica. In Jamaica, consent is not actually consent, meaning that a lot of times people, even adults, end up, adult females, let me specify, end up having sex with an adult male. And the female didn't explicitly say yes or said yes at the first instance. It's mostly based off coercion or the man being forceful or overly persistent. So I think Shamir touched on that point a little, where where the big man looking the young girls and you persuade them over a period of time and they give in. So I think that is the first thing I want to say. Secondly, personally, I think the age of consent should be at least 18. At 16, your parents still make certain decisions for you, like which subjects you're going to do in CXC. They still have an input in your career choice. They're funding you your entire existence. So I don't think at that age you have the mindset to decide that you can manage the emotional and mental and maybe physical consequences that come with having sex. And then there goes the part about not being able to have a full-time job, not being able to vote. You can't get a driver's license. You can't live on your own because if your parents throw you out, then you're underage and police come and pull the parents. But also, I don't think this conversation about the age of consent should exist in a vacuum, because even if the age of consent is raised to 18, there are still 18-year-olds who are very irresponsible, who are not mentally prepared for what adulthood brings. So it comes down to socialization somewhat. However, because so many people getting pregnant at 16, they themselves are not able to properly guide their children and sometimes end up being violent in trying to prevent the child from getting pregnant, that they damage the child or push the child away to go and explore either ways. And then they, even though they probably got pregnant at 16, 17, 18, when the child becomes pregnant at 16, 17, 18, it's the first to throw them out and say, you bring disgrace upon me. So, coupled with increasing the age of consent, there has to be a resocialization, the conversations, learning how to be responsible with your body, the consequences that come with having sex, things like that. So that's my 2 cents there.
Thank you very much for that. In the interest of time, for the remaining persons, you're going to have a 1-minute timer. I know, but it's getting a little late. We want to get through the entire meeting. So we'll go with Holder and then Francis. So go ahead, Holder. Your minute is going to start as soon as you start talking.
Hey, good night, everyone. Sorry about that. Good night, everyone. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, good night. We're hearing you.
Okay, good. I agree with what everyone said. Of course, there's the issue of not being able to fully provide for yourself and not being able to do less damaging, quote unquote, adult activities. But I do believe the age of consent should be, and not just the age of consent in terms of legal doctrine that say this is the age you can, so then they decide to have sex, but the socially acceptable age should be around 25. Reason being, it is the age when your brain is almost fully developed. Your brain is fully developed in your late 20s, to be honest. But around 25 is when you can consider yourself an adult. And in my opinion, should be the age that is socially acceptable to engage in sexual activity, because sex isn't going anywhere. So I believe there's too much of an emphasis placed on it in society. And there's too much excitement surrounding it. You're turning 16 or you're turning 18, you can start drinking or you can start having sex. And it creates a very dangerous narrative because it does give a false hope as to what the activity really is. So maybe less emphasis should place on it, and the age of 25 would be the suggestion that I would have.
All right, thank you for that. We're going to go with the next person, Francis. Francis, you can go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hearing you.
It's just going to make some observations. So it seems as if the countries that have the lowest age of consent, those countries tend to be a bit more patriarchal than the ones that have a higher one. And it also interesting that those countries also, they have very poor sex education or none at all. In some countries, like, for example, Japan, kids can barely talk to their parents about sex and what it entails, but yet the age of consent is very low. And it's also interesting that in, for example, with Nigeria, with their level of age of consent, it's a country where the prime minister or the president or whoever he is came out the other day saying that to make it illegal, basically, with regards to domestic violence and killing women, because they have a very high domestic violence rate and femicide rate and rape culture there. And the men raised hell because now they are going to be held accountable if they beat and kill their wives. And it's so interesting that countries like that are the ones that have the lowest age of consent.
Thank you so much. We'll take Rogelia. Go ahead, Ro.
So I always call the age of consent the law of hypocrisy. I believe the countries that have it lower to certain extents always complain of overpopulation. But I just believe that they complain of overpopulation and teenage pregnancy. But I just believe that that is a complaint based on the fact that many individuals are now aware of what certain agendas entail. Because even though they say, you know, we have overpopulation, there's certain things happening. Many countries that have to do food rations in small towns and etc. And they're not preventing the issue because it's not an issue for them. It's not an issue for the lawmakers. So it will continue to be the overlapping reality that they say one thing, but they won't change it to make the circumstances better for everyone else because they're benefiting from the age of consent as is. Because if you even look at things in regards to human trafficking, if a man claims to be with a young girl, you understand, in certain things, it's not going to necessarily be jumped on. Yes, from the standpoint of societal eyes, us as citizens, we're going to say, you know, that's wrong. But then if it's wrong, why is the age of consent at 16 or why is the age of consent at 11? Or why is that there's no age of consent as long as you're married and it's acceptable? So those are certain things we have to look at as well. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anishka, if you want to go again, you're going to only have a minute on the clock. Only a minute. If you want to
Yeah,
go
no
again.
problem. I just wanted to put this out there that I noticed because this is not the first I'm engaging in this kind of discussion, and I notice it's mostly biased towards the little girls. But I would say the same goes for the boy child as well. The age of consent being at 16 is still not acceptable for that young man because if he should get somebody pregnant, he himself is not financially stable and he's also not responsible at that age either. So it shouldn't be that it's only the female that we're going to be stricken out on because he has the potential of getting someone else's child pregnant. Or if it's even an older person, he needs to be able to stand his responsibility as well. So I just wanted to put that out.
Thank you very much for that.